people for the last the prayer during the 3 days of fasting and praying is this. We Christians have been hoodwinked by focusing on only spiritual. We've been so hoodwinked by churches and by pastors that all you need is to be spiritually sound. Yet, if you understand anything at all, God uses all three: spirit, soul, and body. And the example I always give is that of, you can move the slide forward, is that of Moses and Amalek. You find it. Go on. Go on. Yeah, that's it. Exodus chapter 17 verse 8. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel at Rephidim. And Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men to go out, fight with Amalek tomorrow. I will stand on top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. Go to the next slide. So Joshua did as Moses said unto him and fought with Amalek. Moses, Aaron, and all went on top of the hill. And it came to pass when he held up his hand that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. Go to the next slide. Today. But Moses' hands were heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him. And he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stirred up his hands, the one on one side, the one on the other. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and the people with the edge of the sword. And I always like to use this as an example. Watch what I'm about to show you now. Watch this. Moses is the spiritual part of our life. He goes up to the mountain to pray. And I always make fun that if Moses had gone up to the mountain to pray and Joshua had not gone to the valley to fight, then he would still be praying till today. Which is what we are always doing. Praying. Praying and praying. You're going to be vice chancellor. You pray. You're going to be a millionaire. You pray. You're going to be this. You pray. You want to have a good marriage. You pray. You want to do this. You pray. It's always prayer. But at the same time, if Joshua had gone to the valley and Moses had not prayed, there would be no book of Joshua. He would have been killed. So again, many of us walk, but don't pray. It's almost as staying in the middle of the road. It has become incredibly difficult for us to do. But the Bible is silent about two men, Aaron and Hur. The Bible doesn't tell us that God told them to do anything. But they used their intelligence. They used their common sense. They used their mind. And they noticed that when Moses' hands were up, the battle was being won. And when his hands came down, the battle was being lost. Nobody told them. They used their intellect, their minds, and decided to give him a chair so that he won't be tired. And then decided to support him. The Bible doesn't say God told them to do it. Do you see why you don't find your voice? Because every problem is spiritual. Or, when you are angry, it's material. And when you want to argue, it's intellectual. But the true solutions to our challenges is a combination of all three. I tell people all the time, you will never find an object standing on this earth that doesn't have a minimum of 3 or 4 legs. You know what I call those legs? Moses, Joshua, Aaron, and Hur. That's how to bring balance into your life. I'm going to show you a video. It's about a young Yoruba boy at a TED Talk speaking Yoruba and showing Yoruba arts and craft. I know how some of you are super spiritual. You are going to start telling me I'm bringing idols to the church. I'm doing all that. Well, that's your problem. I want you to see how he found his voice. Let's play.
Olaoluwa Shebanjo. Ọmọ Ìjẹ̀bú Òde Ògbògbò jálẹ̀jálẹ̀. Ọmọ ani tóyìnbó nílé. Ọmọ ani wúrà, ọmọ ani pẹpẹ. This chant is called the Oriki. My grandmother used to sing it to me when I was a child in Nigeria. See, an Oriki is a song of praise of the Yoruba people. And this particular Oriki speaks of treasures that the West does not have. Mama, that's what I call my grandmother, told me many stories about Yoruba mythology. You see, the Yorubas are an ethnic group from the southwestern part of Nigeria. And I was always fascinated by these stories. I was always intrigued. And Yoruba culture has inspired my art since I was a child. You see, African art is not just what you buy at Harlem Market in New York. Every artist has a name, and every artist has a story. This is my story. See, Mama had tattoos on her arms and her legs. See, as a child, I thought she was born with them. They were beautiful black line and detailed symbols. And then she told me that they were actually symbols from the Yoruba mythology. I never knew how this was going to influence the artist that I am today. You see, as a young child, I saw art everywhere. I remember the house we lived in Ilorin, in Stadium Road. We had marble floors, and I would look at the marble floors and I would see all sorts of patterns and designs in it. And I thought everybody could see them. So I would call my brother. I was like, Ikeolu, come and see this marble design, see this pattern, see this mask. And he would tell me, Laulu, I don't see anything. So I would use ink and I would trace out what I saw on the floor. And then when my mom noticed, she got really upset. But that didn't stop me. I switched from ink to chalk. Of course, I got in trouble a lot with my teachers and my parents. So I remember my mom said, Laulu, we are Christians. Why don't you draw like other people? Why don't you draw, landscapes? Or maybe you draw chairs or furniture, or maybe you even draw Jesus. I could paint the whole house if I had the chance, but when I grew up, I knew being an artist was not an option. So I wanted to be the person my parents wanted me to be, so I went to law school. Of course, that's my dad there. He was so proud that day. And this was what my notebooks looked like in law school. Of course, I would miss classes and I would make up excuses why, I wasn't going to class. When I started working at the Human Rights Commission as a human rights attorney, my mind was elsewhere. I saw a very tough reality. I worked with children who had to choose between getting an education and actually being forced into marriage. I was so frustrated seeing all the injustice around me, and my only outlet was art. So I started painting. This piece is called Dreamscape. So when you zoom into this piece, you're going to see a girl child and the accident of birth. The fact that our future is controlled by where we're born. Now, the next one, you see a man and a man holding hands, a woman and a woman holding hands. You see in Nigeria, same-sex relationship is criminalized. You can actually get 14 years for that. With my art, I like to tell stories. With my art, I like to start a conversation. So in this one, you see the map of Africa, you see the questions, you see crying, and then you see syringes plugged into Africa, and the natural resources being drained out. So I ask myself, where does it go? Who benefits from all of this? You see, with my art, the way I weave my art around, the patterns, the masks, the stories, and the way I use my lines, it's all from the Yoruba culture. So, in 2013, I made a big gamble. I quit my job, and I moved to New York City to practice art full-time. Of course, my parents were like, oh, he's got a brainwave, he'll come back. But life as an artist in New York was not easy. Of course, I was broke, no money, no gallery agents, no representation, so no gallery would show my work. So I thought to myself, I need to survive. So I started painting on clothes to make a living. I started painting on shoes. I started customizing things for people. And then soon I realized the power, because people were so proud to wear their stories. So I started painting on everything. I painted on guitars, I started doing murals, anything I could find my hand on I painted, and everything became my canvas. So one day, I was going on my Instagram feed and I saw this picture. It was rain. She took a picture standing in front of my art. And the moment I saw that photo, something happened in that moment. I could actually see my artwork go into her and come out of her, literally. And that's how I started painting on human bodies. As a child, I saw art on the marble floors. I saw art on walls, but now I see art on people's faces and people's bodies. I remember my grandmother, and I realized that most of my creative instincts were actually based on my childhood memories and the art on my mother's skin. Now I look at all the people I paint and I think to myself, like, what would it look like if we all walked around like gods and goddesses from Yoruba mythology? And boom, that is how the sacred art of the Ori was born. You see, Ori in Yoruba mythology means your soul, it means your essence, it means your instincts. And I realized that only when you tap into your Ori, then you can actually move mountains. So, it's something so immediate about painting on the human body. It's something it's like art in motion. It's like a 3D experience. So one day, I was just doing my regular work in Brooklyn, and I got an email that said, "Hi, I'm a big fan of your work. Would you like to paint my music video signed Beyonce?" Like Beyonce emailed me. I was like, what? I was like, what? How did she even know me? I thought this can't be true. Of course, I thought it was a scam. Nigerian was like, nah. But incredibly enough, it was real, it was true. And things happened really fast. You see, Beyonce wanted to pay homage to New Orleans, and my art reminded her of her Creole origins. So when Lemonade dropped, of course, boom. Everything just went from 0 to 100 real fast. People featured me in magazines, interviews. People stopped me in the street. People knew my name. And sometimes I had to step back and just chill and take everything in. You know, as artists, we work so hard all our lives for our art to be recognized. And for this, I feel blessed. However, the attorney in me is still there. So I use my art to fight for what I believe in. My Yoruba heritage is always there. Well, I'd like to share with you tonight some of my art in motion. Please, welcome with me on stage.
Becomes history. It's not the same. What it used to be. Another day. But what can I do to make the clock stop?
Now, this is Jelly, and this is Rain. These are the first two people I ever painted in my life. And I spent the past day painting on them. Tonight, they represent my hopes and my fears. Now, I put my fears on the back. I put my hopes in front. What are my hopes? I hope that people know that Africa is not just one huge nameless continent that is all the same. I also hope that people know that in Nigeria, we have over 350 ethnic groups and languages. And I'm just one artist from one of them. I also hope that you know that I hope I'll be able to change the way people talk about African art on the continent and here. And I hope you know that African art is not just what you buy at Harlem markets in New York. And that every piece of art you see has a story, and every artist has a name. Thank you very much for listening.
Make sense? Does it make sense now? That's a voice. That's a voice. I think he's had, I don't know, about 400,000 hits. I can't remember. That's a voice. Do you see how everything came together? Am I making sense to somebody this morning? We are so ashamed of who we are as Africans that we never give expression. Our chairs are imported, our furniture are imported, our clothes are foreign, our thinking is foreign. We want to decorate, we must use foreign decorations. That's the sign of class. But look at somebody who's taking what we have thrown away and become a voice. But more important, he's inspiring somebody here this morning to find their voice. Do you understand how the 8 habit works now? Does it make sense to somebody this morning? I remember talking to Gloria about things like this some time ago. That we cannot compete with the foreigners. And my son, I have 2 sons who are based in Canada now. And before they left, I took them to Dr. Debola and I sat down and listen, guys. You can't keep painting United States pictures. You can't keep painting. You got to take something from here. That's the only place nobody can compete with you. When you bring out what is authentically you. If I go to most houses here, I won't find one single African art. You go to South Africa, you enter into a black man's house, it's full of Italian furniture and imported Chinese furniture. You go to a white South African house, you find that it is full of African furniture. Values. I hope somebody this morning, I just hope somebody this morning is inspired to find their voice. Because I've said it's a very difficult topic to teach. It's a topic that is better shown than taught. Look at the marriage of spirit, soul, and body. But more important, look at how the circles came together. What he had a passion to do, what he was good at doing, what the market, even Beyonce, wanted. And he found out was a need of the world. That people like to wear expressions of themselves. It always used to amuse me. Nigerians especially, not Nigerians, a lot of ignorant people, they wear Ted Lapidos or they wear Christian Dior. And I'm always wondering, why are you excited about wearing somebody else's name when you should be wearing your own? Can't you see my glasses? Can't you see my bag? Maybe I'm wrong, but what if I'm right? You know how God has a sense of humor. I've been struggling with the 8 habit. That just dropped into my laps yesterday night. Ask him. I sent him the video middle of the night. I couldn't explain it to save my life. You need to find your voice. You can't produce, if everybody's running a hall, an event center like this, you don't do your event center like everybody else. If you're selling something, don't sell it like everybody else. If you're a teacher, don't teach like everybody else. If you're running a business, don't run it like everybody else. Have something that is peculiar to you. Have a voice. But you don't decide what that voice is. You discover it by taking the circles of your life and bringing them down. But the only way you can take the circles of your life is by living by principles and values. Who's inspired this morning? Someone said, well, why are you wearing a suit and a tie? We'll get there. I have a plan. The plan is very simple. I think there should be a day in Nigeria where all Nigerians wear locally made clothes to the office, to school, everywhere. Then we'll start like that. That will now create jobs for the Nigerian designers. Just one day. It can be Friday. Everybody in the country will be encouraged to wear native. Just to push our industry up. Because I'm not doing something for myself. I want to do something for the whole country. A campaign that one day a week, Fridays, let the entire Nigerian citizen don't wear one foreign thing. Gandhi did it in India. He told the Indians not to wear British cotton. They should make their own cotton. It put the British industry of cotton making out of business. One man. It has to be a movement. But it's not, it has an end. To create jobs in an industry that is dying. And there are many more. One day you should eat Nigerian foods. That's totally another opportunity. I remember there was a lady who came here about 4 years ago, 3 years ago. She brought calabashes instead of balloons. Calabashes instead of balloons. Painted them. When you saw it from a distance, you thought it was balloons. But guess what? You were giving jobs to somebody to do locally. Why do I have to have a setup that is all foreign? Now, please, don't misunderstand me. Sometimes the foreign is the melting point where different tribes can come together. But I'm saying slowly we can start injecting from time to time uniquely African, Nigerian ideas. Find your voice. Let's bow our heads. I know that what we teach in this church sometimes is completely alien to some people. But if we were going to teach what everybody else is teaching, then we're not necessary. We're here because God wants unique people. Have we ever thought, where's Pastor Ajayakwe? Have we ever thought of what that guy has done in Yoruba? Have we ever thought of expressing that in Christianity? There's a young lady in this church who does that. She does Oriki in Yoruba. She did it one Sunday. Many of you remember. It's our most watched video ever in the history of this church. She just took over the service in Yoruba. She started ministering to the Lord. And at the network service this morning, every song we're going to sing is all songs written by Nigerians. The entire service. It's going to be nothing but songs written by Nigerian Cobams, Eben, Nathaniel Bassi. That's what we're going to sing in the second service. For his service. I'm talking about the looking for me. Don't go to the hell looking for me. I am in you. He's in me. The solution I'm looking for is already in me. I don't have to pray about it. I have to tap it. I have to access it. What we're looking for outside is right inside of us. That guy found his